Okay, hey guys, and welcome back to the Gulf Coast Growth Show. I'm your host, Jason Lee, with my co-host, Zeke Smith.
What's up, Jason?
And our man, John Golashesky, the Senior Vice President of Turner Industries. And John, that's your job, like your day job. But you're also deeply involved in the Associated Builders and Contractors here in Houston, kind of just an industry expert. I mean, I've seen you both at ABC and the Economic Alliance as long as I've been doing this for 8 years. Running around, deeply rooted here in the area, and we want to thank you for that. But we're excited to have you on the show today. We're going to talk a lot about your history, what you guys are doing at Turner, and then what you're also seeing inside the industry. So before we dive in, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Is this our first time to have John on the show? Is this your first time here?
This is. Zeke's called me a number of times. There's always a conflict last
He's past chair of ABC now, but when he was chairman, I tried, because we were trying to have the chairman. We just had Serena on, so we were trying to have the chairman on every year. Rusty was a hard no. He's like, I'm never doing it. John was like, I'll do it, no problem, But we just couldn't get him on. So we got him on.
I mean, it's a rough run. I mean, like, the chairman.
It's a busy year.
It's a busy year.
Oh, and I think Turner landed their biggest job probably ever while he was chair too. So he was doing triple duty,
burning it. Yeah.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I appreciate being here, known you guys for a while, and of course, very involved in what's going on in the industry, and that is part and parcel of Turner Industries.
Yeah,
we're deeply rooted in not just workforce development, but the whole industry itself. Just very brief for the listening audience, a little bit about myself. I'm Senior Vice President for Turner Industries. I think most people know who we are. We're a very large industrial contractor. Employment at 20,000 people. The majority of that is in the Gulf Coast, but we work from Pittsburgh to Salt Lake City and lots of places in between. Heavily in the oil, gas, petrochemical business, but also launching out into other areas, as many of the contractors are. Born in Brooklyn, raised in Bayonne, New Jersey, schooled in the Northeast. I have 2 degrees from Cornell University in engineering.
Oh, wow.
Started my career, of all places, in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. I was like, what a culture shock. I was with Foster Wheeler as a preeminent major EPC company. So I've traveled, been in this industry a long time, 40 years with Turner. I was a senior vice.
Did you say 40 years?
40 years. I've been 40 years with Turner Industries.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. I was our vice president of construction in our corporate office. I was asked to come to Houston, take over our operation in the year 2000, one of those prototypical 3-year assignments that's now 26 years.
It's a rotational assignment, John.
Yeah, that's right. And just a little bit more about Turner, because this is important. We started as a union company, Nichols Construction. Our flagship company is called Nichols Construction. I'm Heritage Nichols. I'm a legacy Nichols employee.
Okay.
Mr. Turner, who founded our company, was approached by Exxon and Dow in 1975 to start the merit shop movement in Baton Rouge, which he did. And, like others, we're not against the unions. We were a union company, but it was time to make a change. And so we've been merit shop contractor now for over 50 years. And workforce development and training is really part of our DNA, because you had to develop people, and our training materials that we had in our company, along with several of the other major contractors, were donated to ABC to become what is now, as you all know, NCCER, which is the National Center for Construction Education and Research. So back to your point about being involved in this, our company, not just myself, in all our offices, we are very engaged with ABC, very, very engaged with workforce development, because it's just like safety. Safety is a moral obligation. Training your employees is just good business.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I say this when I use the term life of service, I don't mean it lightly, right? I mean, I mean it as one of the things that I've seen, and you're a great example of this, is people don't just work in the industry, they serve in it. And by serving, meaning they get involved, they get plugged in, and it's kind of cultural and in their blood. Like, if you're just here to make a buck and, build some stuff, you're probably not going to do really well and be around for a long time. But those that I've seen for 40 plus years, 30 plus years, it's because they're not just there punching in and punching out and collecting a paycheck. They're there living and breathing and this stuff. They think all the way down to from the senior vice president, and you're thinking all the way down to this kid in this high school down here that needs to have a career in this industry, and you're thinking about them and that next generation, which is pretty amazing.
No, totally. And one other thing, Turner Industry, we were a privately owned company. So employing 20,000 people, being privately owned, and the company is run as a family.
Did you say 20,000?
Oh, we have literally 20,000 employees.
And I'm sure that ramps up.
And that does ramp
Craft
up. We
workers,
hit 24,300 in the year right before COVID. The year before COVID, we were even higher than that.
2019 everybody was gangbusters.
Yeah, it was.
That's insane.
Yeah. When we had the Sasol project going on, we had an incredible workforce there.
Tony was over there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's insane.
So yeah, we're in the people business.
No doubt, no doubt.
Yeah.
And so, talk to us a little bit about, obviously you split your time, I guess, right? Because you spend a lot of time in it. How is the overlap with your day to day, right? Being the senior vice president, but then also serving in these organizations, getting involved in and plugged into the community. How do you go about doing that? Like you're running a business, right? But then also at the same time, you're involved in all these organizations, making an impact, and they require a lot of your energy and effort. How do those kind of things overlap, and how do they serve each other?
Well, serve is the right word, Jason and Zeke. And Zeke knows because we've been on the board for years. A good example, talking about being the chair, I was approached shortly after I got here in 2001 to get on what's called the executive committee of ABC, which you go through a progression of 5 years to then become the chair. I literally turned it down 6 years in a row early because I said I was sent here by my company to grow our business. Our company comes first. I serve on the board of ABC. We're very generous in the company's time and so on. So you fit it in. It's like anything else. You do, we all not only give our time to things like workforce development, but other charitable and other organizations, church-wise and so on. So that's what people do. That's just how you grow up. I was raised in a very traditional family, went to a Jesuit prep school. You learned, you got educated,
Yeah.
But that's what you do. You fit it in. You prioritize it. You don't always made the board meetings. That was kind of mandatory, but catching golf tournaments, whatever, that is definitely somewhere down the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you spend a lot of energy in workforce development. Talk to us a little bit about why it's so critical in our industry right now, the shortages that we're facing, its impact on the industry, and then also how the perception of careers are changing in construction today.
Yeah, certainly. Well, let me just back up and address something, and it's called the skilled construction workforce shortage. That is nothing new.
Okay.
It's been going on for decades.
Yeah.
It has been going on for decades. And it goes just as it goes with economic cycles of ups and downs. Again, back to Turner, it's part of our operation. We train our people. We look at it as, an investment in our employees. There are going to be ups and downs. There are going to be shortages. But I think, some contractors look at workforce development or training as just a cost. Well, that's the wrong way to look at it. And that's why you have shortages. Some companies try to get through the peak times and just barely eke through. No, if I got to spend money to train people, then that's an expense coming out of my bottom line. That's the wrong way to look at it. So there have been these shortages, and you go through the peaks and valleys, and when the work slows down after the economic cycle, some people take a deep breath, say, made it through another one. Well, that's wrong. Traditionally, the shortages have been in the real skilled crafts. Everybody knows welders, high pay, instrument technicians, high pay. And that would draw employees. It's fantastic craft. Don't get me wrong. Now with the boom in the data centers, that shortage is not only in those crafts because you're still going to build the plants, electricians, instrument technicians, HVAC techs. Last night we had the graduation at University of Houston. I'm on the board there, by the way. Been there. I'm one of the founding fathers for 18 years.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, no, 18 years. We put an industrial advisory board there to get the university's construction management program accredited. And it's a great thing. They had 95 graduates there last night, and it culminates in a hard hat ceremony. Mm-hmm. They get their full brim hard hat. It's a big thing, Mm-hmm. Spoke to the students. But the point is that's also part of workforce development. But I addressed this with the graduates. Several of us, took a few minutes and gave them a little words of wisdom. But the shortages are changing, and they're becoming acute, particularly for electricians. And it's pulling away from our workforce even here when you've got projects because they're going where, quote unquote, where's the money?
Right.
Oh, Indiana or Phoenix, Arizona, wherever.
That's right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But training is an ongoing thing, just like safety. So, if a company doesn't look at it as an investment and continue to train and develop their people, so that's kind of what's going on right now. We have there's shortages in different places, and you can't blame a craft worker if he's going to, get on the road and draw higher pay or per diem.
Yeah. And one of the things too, Jason, is, and John knows this, I know you have, you're involved in this more than I am and more than most. The owner side, the LyondellBasell's, the Chevrons, they're asking about your training programs. What are you doing to train and retain your craft worker now more than ever?
No.
Your RFPs used to be, what's your pricing? What are you going to do? How many people are you going to have now? It's okay, but what are you doing with those 1,200 people or those, 500 people you have on site? How are you training them? What is the curriculum? Provide a copy more than ever. And I think that's helping, right, to other contractors to say, okay, well, maybe I'm going to have to invest in it. But it's interesting that's evolved that way.
Yeah, and don't you guys when you say that, Turner, you're pretty proud of the fact that you guys separate yourself and how it is you do train and develop your people. Don't you have some flagship training programs that you guys are proud of?
Well, we do, but basically the basic training that's done is done through here in the Houston area. It's ABC's training arm. It's the Construction Maintenance and Education Foundation, CMEF, and it is just the training arm of ABC. It's just a separate foundation. It's ABC, and it's right here in LaPorte. They use the training curricula that comes from, again, another acronym, the NCCER, which is the National Center for Construction Education and Research in Gainesville, Florida. This is the foundation that holds the training curricula that's been developed over all these years that, again, started with ABC, with the Wheels of Learning, that our company and the Zacharys and the, B&Ks and many of the other big Brown and Roots donated their materials to put together a training regimen for the non-union merit shop movement. So what that is a database where they go through training by level. They get certified. There's credentials. They have to pass the test. It's kept in a digital database. They can go from our company to someone else or vice versa with credentials that are stackable and portable. So they can go from job to job. An owner wants to know, whether one of the major owner companies wants to know, if you're putting a, journeyman, pipe fitter, what are his credentials? Well, here they are. They can see that they've passed. There's a written portion and there's a hands-on verification that they have to demonstrate to subject matter experts, our general foreman, our supervisors, that they know how to fit pipe, that they know how to rig properly.
True competency assessment.
It's competent. So it's both a knowledge-based and a performance-based. So it's not somebody could just, I can get through, 40 questions or whatever and get a passing grade. They have to demonstrate their skills.
Okay.
But we also have, a number of other things. And one thing that we do, not that others may not do it, but besides just the training, it's personalized. So you take, Jose, let's say he's a pipe fitter or a rigger, and he's got certain skill sets, but he's also lacking in certain things. Maybe he's a pipe fitter. How do you properly make up a flange, or how do you properly break a flange? That means to disconnect it. Well, to go try to stick a pry bar in there and hurt yourself, get in line of fire. We have tools that we buy, flange spreaders and flange alignment tools. But to take that individual, take Jose or Pete or whatever his name is, and determine what his missing skill set is. Carla Thompson, who works for us, she's very well known here in this area.
Oh, yeah.
Workforce development. Carla and people like Ann Pham at Worley. They're terrific ladies that will look at your employees and sit down with them, spend 30 minutes and put together a little
training plan. Yep.
A training plan. Yeah. Yep. To upgrade their skills. So they don't have to do a whole year of pipe fitter 4, let's say, level 1, 2, 3, 4. They're missing this. You tune them up in that particular skill set. Job site training, back to torquing flanges. It's not as easy and as simple as it were in days past, where now the processes are getting much, much more specific to where you bolt up, you torque up, and doing training sessions, which is called task training. You're training people on the job site. And that's one thing that I've long been a proponent of these big jobs. Like we have 2,600 workers right now for OxyChem, a big client of ours, on the Redstone project, working days and nights. And, while you're working those kind of hours, it's not easy to have them going through training at night at CMEF, but you do what you can do on the job site. And some of it is even safety training with bringing in a vendor from one of our tool
safety
companies.
That's right. Yep.
A DeWalt or a Milwaukee tool, and come and help out and demonstrate to them the proper use of hand tools. These are all things that you do.
Yeah. You mentioned Carla, and of course, Ann, good friends of ours. One thing they do a lot of is the outreach to some of the schools and community colleges, as you know. So what do you think why is it important to have relationships with those educational providers? And is there something we can do better? Why is it so important for industry to have good relationships with those providers?
Zeke, that's a great question. And the way it's set up here, it is really quite a great relationship in the Houston area with the community colleges, with San Jac, with Lee College, and of course with CMEF, and then the other community college, Alvin, and so on and so forth. They have their facilities. So, to just have everything done at one location. You look at Houston, look at the size of Houston. You drive 50 miles, you're still in Houston from one area to the other. Your employees working at a job site. It's really commendable for an employee to work, especially the 10-hour day or more that you work in construction, and dedicate themselves to take a couple of nights a week to go from 6 to 10 at night and then be at the job site in the morning and do their training, right? But you can't, it's done at CMEF, but there's certain training disciplines that are very well suited to be delivered at the community colleges, be it and it's a partnership. And let me back up and say that what's been done in Houston goes back decades, where the owners, when I say the owners, I'm talking about the industrial energy owner companies, have partnered with the contractors to help support it with a cents per hour program, which is very modest, but nonetheless, it helps support the training that is done at CMEF. And it's a community-based training. So by that, I mean, all the contractors that train, you train your employees for your jobs and your company. But from time to time, employees move. You want to stay in with you.
You're upskilling the industry.
They move, as the
for sure.
turnarounds in the jobs.
For sure.
But if you're doing it together, it's a commitment, amongst not only the contractors, but the owners to support the workforce. And, the relationships, and back to, also we talked about ABC and the owners, but ECMA, which is the organization here in Houston with the owner companies, they're very supportive of that. So
for sure,
workforce development is paramount. I mean, the number of people that leave our industry just with attrition from retirement and what is expected in the next 5 years, there's a significant drain that is going to take place with experience leaving the industry. Mm-hmm. So just to replace that, even if it was a 1-for-1 in terms of people, you're not going to have replacing that 20 to 40 years of experience that's going to be leaving. It's critical. And as these projects are getting more and more and more and more sophisticated,
right?
Very global. Yeah.
Right. And then backing up even further from community colleges, the high school. So to your point, the 1-for-1, we need 10 high school students entering the industry for every one retiree almost, right? So the high school program is another one that's exceptional in the area. There's there's been upwards of 67, almost 70 schools that are partnered with different industry partners in ABC for sponsorship and help and donating. Some companies have donated materials to these programs. I think if you wouldn't mind talking about how great the high school and ISD partnerships are with industry and why they're so important.
Good point. ABC, Associated Builders and Contractors, we here in Houston, right now it's 44 high schools that we partner with. Wow. It was, somewhat higher, but it stretches out. It's not just the immediate Houston area, but also we're doing the same thing. ABC and our company, we have chapters of ABC we belong to in Beaumont, in Victoria, in Corpus Christi. I mean,
all doing outreach there too.
All doing the same thing. So
support area,
alone, Turner, we sponsored 19 high schools. We work with them. So we have not just the Carlas, but some of our other, maintenance superintendents, construction superintendents, and workforce development people, visit the high schools. They work with the instructors. You provide PPE. The schools always need something. Welding supplies. We've got a big fabrication shop in Pasadena.
Old pipe, scrap pipe.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And you're helping them out. And Carla is always, always showing the photos. Carla is her schedule is so busy with visiting these high schools and so on and so forth. Another good example, Carla, there's something we've started in our company a few years ago. She calls it the Advanced Manufacturing Mentorship Program. Mm-hmm. We're bringing primarily welding students, but not only, and usually about 30 of them at a time. And they do a series of maybe 8 or 10 visits to our facility once a month. And they're exposed to things. We take them for tours through our fab shop. Mm-hmm. This is showing them, if you're going to be a welder, it's one thing to, work in a lab and learn how to weld. Here's a welding shop in production, welding, 36-inch pipe and what have you. But also myself and a few of the other managers or executives will have a talk with them. I walked them through, a project we did several years ago in one of the big chemical plants here in this area. And okay, here's you're talking about welding. Well, here's what it's like to have to put up 150,000 feet of pipe on a project in a compressed schedule, working, 2 nights or double shift. So, yeah.
Do what? I was just to ask that. That's a good question for him.
Okay. John, as we get ready to wrap up, one of the things that I really wanted to get your opinion on, because you've seen so much, right? You've been around different marketplaces and then have watched the industry evolve. And one of the things that you really highlighted, and I think that I heard from our discussion today, was this kind of galvanized effort for workforce development. Mm-hmm. It doesn't it starts at the owner level. It starts at the contractor level. It starts gets down to the subcontractors, all the way down to the organizations, all the way down to the schools.
Right.
I mean, we are working from bottom to top, trying to figure out how to be successful here. What gives you optimism about the future of workforce development in our area?
Well, I'll tell you, the movement away from, there's a lot of students, they're fit for going to college, getting a 4-year degree, whatever. A lot of them are not, and we know what the results have been. And the focus being put back into the good old trades with the VOTEC programs, with the STEM programs, and getting the owners behind this and everybody working together. On the industrial side, there's been, I think, much more, the way it's developed, just as it has with safety from many decades ago, with the expectations set by the owner companies. That's helped bring things around. On the commercial side, you've got developers, and we're a direct hire contractor. 85 to 90% of the work we do, we self-perform. So we do subcontract portions of the work. Commercial side is certainly different, but with the boom in construction, with the push more towards STEM and money going towards the VOTEC, and I think a lot of people are realizing, it's a great industry. So there's definitely some optimism there. We've seen young people coming in, and yes, they're growing up with their iPhone and their computers, and a lot of them aren't really geared to going out and working in the plant and the elements and so on. But when you look at the money that can be made, the career that they can have, and something we didn't touch on, our industry has not gotten the best rap, so to speak, right? Yeah. What people think of construction, it's a phenomenal industry, and it's social media could do a whole lot better to promote our industry, and part of that is we as an industry to promote it. But seeing the students, just again last night at the University of Houston graduation, but the workers we have on our job site, you see some of them coming in, and once they see what it's like to start building a plant, that grows.
That's got to be so cool.
One of the things too that John knows about is we talk about high school and U of H is the parents being there.
Yeah.
Because the parents' perception is what drives that. Like, not a great profession, stay away from that, go do something else.
Yeah.
But bringing the parents in through the high school programs, community college, and then like U of H, that hard hat ceremony when the parents are there with their students and they graduate and see it, and they get to meet these industry, I always joke with John, call them industry titans there, talking to them, they're like, wow, you're getting exposure to a senior vice president, business unit leader for one of, if not the largest industrial contractor in Houston. That's pretty good exposure for a college graduate. We didn't have that. So I think that the message is starting to get to the parents, to your point, social media. The 14 or 15 people listen to this podcast, we got a huge following. So talking about, hey, this is actually, first of all, a very safe industry, safety conscious, certainly.
Sure.
And then it's a great career. I want to make a lighthearted, because you said there's so much money to be made. Jason in an earlier episode mentioned the term stinkadina, and John has a very famous line about driving down our state highway 225. So I wanted him to share that with you because he always says it. It's hilarious. And he just
what's the line?
Well, the line is this. So this goes back, and I, in fact, mentioned it last night. So we would interview students. This is going back years, here in Houston. And asked them, this is from the universities here and up in College Station and so on. What do you want to do? They're studying construction management. Oh, well, they want to build, office buildings, they want to build homes and so on. I said, don't you ever ride down 225, roll your window down, stick your head out the window and smell the money?
And he always says that. It's great. I love it.
It is true. And this is an important point. The students that would gyrate towards this industry and this energy capital of the world, undisputed energy capital of the world. Their moms, their dads, their grandfathers, their uncles worked in the industry and they gyrated to it. But those that didn't, you look at social media. Okay, let's look at some LEED building, great, beautiful 100-story high-rise, 50-story high-rise, looks nice,
the sexiest,
clean, and so on.
That's right.
Nothing like.
Sure.
It doesn't print cash like these refineries.
Just really wrapping up, I do want to touch on something that it was a very successful program. And this is getting back to the collaboration we talked about before. We talked about the high schools. We talked about the community colleges and so on and so forth. It really starts with the expectations set by the owners and the contractors. And to set those expectations jointly is the pinnacle. Years ago, and Zeke will remember this from ABC meetings, the owners, when I say the owners, I'm talking about the major oil petrochemical companies here in the Houston area, approached the ABC contractors to talk about workforce development in a collaborative manner. They said, they were pursuing workforce development for process operators and process technicians. And we contractors are, in a business of looking for people, pipe fitters, welders, carpenters, iron workers, what have you. And they said, well, why don't we get together? And they did. We had a few meetings, and lo and behold, a year later, they formed a steering team. It was comprised of 6 owners and 5 contractors. And for several years, we worked collaboratively. And, on the owner side was the chair. I was the vice chair. We worked together. We met monthly and worked for 4 hours a month on workforce development. And we had champions on the owner side. We had champions on the contractor side. And that is what really is the best scenario. It's a needle mover. And we're getting back to that, needing to re-implement that passion. Not that it hasn't been there, but sometimes everybody gets busy. But when you truly want to change the scene and look at the size of the projects coming up, that's the winning formula.
Hopefully, you've got John's obviously involved in Economic Alliance as well, and you've got IBR and ABC, and so we talked to Tony with ECMA. So having those organizations that are at the same events, at the same places, working together will hopefully build some of that back. I think that's really important. So I'm glad you brought that up, John. That's one of John's consistent messages is that was a good day when we were collaborating like that. I need to get back to it. If you'll allow me, I want to get, as we finish up here, a lighter note. We mentioned how much John is busy. He's still past chair ABC, doing Economic Alliance things. He goes to the Business Growth Task Force meeting every month. Still running a company, got a giant job here with OxyChem. But one thing that I like to highlight, my friend John, he still finds time, personal time every week, right, John? You have a certain thing?
Every week?
So I want him to just tell that story because I think that's something you and I can take away. I hope
Yeah,
the audience does,
please.
because there's nobody going to sit there busier than this guy. Okay, nobody.
No.
So he still finds time, and he never postpones or cancels unless they're ill. But
All right. Tell me, John.
It's Friday night date night with my wife.
Oh,
That's standing. In fact, you probably know this because I've run into each other at Starbucks in the morning.
Uh-huh.
They ask me, the Starbucks baristas, okay, John, where are you going tonight?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but it's just, hey, we're all busy. Family is important. So that's just something my wife and I have done for years. And I have a policy. Policy is you pick, I pay.
Yeah.
So
I like it.
yeah.
I like
it.
Jerry's my wife. She picks out great restaurants.
Awesome.
And,
How long have y'all been doing the Friday night date night?
Oh, for a good 20 years. In
Oh,
fact,
wow.
yeah, back to like U of H, I told him last night, it's a good thing this is on Thursday night because if it was on Friday, I wouldn't be here.
That's right. Doesn't
But
cancel.
no, it's
pretty impressive, right? Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
it's,
That's awesome.
It's
Way
good
to
to
go.
do. Everybody's got priorities, and that's one of ours.
Well, if you take nothing away from the show today, take that because that's gold.
Good.
That's right.
Good
John,
stuff.
we appreciate you. Great insights today, and for our audience, always a great reminder of just how service is at the core of what we do. Right? John's dedicated his life not just to Turner Industries, but to the industry in and of itself. The people that work inside of it, the kids that are coming down the pipeline that are someday going to be a part of it, and it's because of men like yourself who've dedicated themselves to the schools, to the service industries. I mean, you really actually are putting your foot in every single section of this industry through your service that embodies what we are, right? Which is all of these things rolling together so that we can actually help create jobs, create opportunity, and make this really make this region what it is today, right? The energy capital of the world, where you can drive around and just smell the money.
That's right.
There you go.
And for our audience, we want to thank you as always for tuning in. We'd ask that you pay it forward, that you would send this episode out to some young adult who needs to be a part of this, needs to say that there's opportunity. Maybe somebody who's not aware of the industry, right? That's the purpose of this show. It's really to champion the great work that goes on. I think we take it for granted that every single day, all the stuff that we eat, drink, touch is made by the things in these beautiful refineries out here.
We're going to see a bunch of high school kids driving at 225 this weekend. Like,
their head out the window. You know what money smells like? 'Cause I don't know if I want it. Yeah. They don't want anything to do with money.
That's going to be great.
But it's really cool that we live in such a great opportunity with so much opportunity out there, and that you have generational people who are here to serve and work in the industry, and that we can go out and continue to make an impact. So please pay it forward. Send it out to somebody you know. And if you have any feedback, send it to Zeke Smith or myself, Jason Lee. We're on LinkedIn. We're easy to find.
Yep.
And we look forward to hearing from you. See you guys next week.